Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco, your personal financial technician. Whether you've had years of success in your business or just starting out, High Lift Financial can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family and align these for generational wealth. So as they say, what happens in your life affects your business. And now on to the show. Hello and welcome to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. And, I run into shop owners all the time who are just, especially, I know a lot of shop owners are in a period where it's slower. They're kind of wondering how are we going to get cars in? How are we going to maintain our profitability? There's a lot of different questions that they have out there. And it's actually interesting because a while back, I read a book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And it was really about this concept that too many times business owners and entrepreneurs think about how we need to get things done. And the question they really need to be saying is, who do I need to get these things done? Because we can't be the expert in every area. And we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. One thing that I like to think about is this idea of what's my unique genius and what's a business owner's unique genius. What is the thing that really, first off, fires them up and that creates them the most profitability and the most revenue? Those are the things. And I think it's really neat to kind of put an inventory together as to what you do on your day-to-day basis. And it's funny, I've got a whiteboard up here in my office, and I actually did that exercise about a year or so ago and listed every activity. I basically just kept the time log every 15 minutes, like, okay, what did I do in this period? What did I do in this period? What did I do in this period? And I basically broke them down into four different areas. One was what I call delegation. Okay, so these are things that I do on a day-to-day basis that I hate doing and don't make me any money and that I need to delegate out. That's the first area. The second area is what I call replacement. So these are things that generate revenue, but I don't particularly like doing anyway. All right. And so I want to replace myself in doing these things. The third one is what's called production. Those are the things that I love doing and that make me the most money. Okay. That's my unique genius. Those are the things where I want to stay. And then the third one is what's called investment. Those are the things that don't make me any money, but that I love doing. And again, so we want to be spending our time kind of on with that production and investment area, and everything else we need to find the who's to do those things. Now, as you start to work through this process, I think there's really and I give a lot of credit to Dan Martell and his book Buy Your Time Back for kind of going through this process. And again, I recommend everybody read that book also because it really piggybacks well off of Who Not How, and it gives you much more how-tos to do these things. But really, as I did these time logs and I started putting these things out, I started putting them on the board. Where do they fit on my board? So think of it like a quadrant. Okay. I have my delegation, I have my replacement, I have my production, and then I have my investment. Okay. So I started listing everything I wanted to delegate, everything I wanted to replace. So I put all of these things on the board. I looked at the delegation and I said, okay, who can I delegate this to? Is there somebody internally that I have that I can delegate this out to? So maybe it's something like billing. Okay. Something as simple as billing. If it's something that you're doing, who can I delegate that? Do I have a CSA that I could delegate that out to? Maybe it's something like maybe you're doing estimates. Again, that could probably fit more on the replacement end, but if it's something that, that is not in that core genius of yours, well, who can I get? Do I need to hire somebody, or is there somebody internally that can take care of that certain task? So you start listing these things out. Now, what I did was, as I look at these things too, I found out, okay, who do I have internally on my team? And then who do I need to hire to be able to take over those tasks? So it was interesting because I had a lot of internal staff that could handle that. I could start delegating a lot of those things out to, but I had certain things that just always got me bogged down. Email was one. Okay. It was very easy for me in the morning to, kind of, okay, I get into the office. First thing we do, we open the emails and I start looking at emails and I start getting bogged down. I got to answer this. Oh, I got to take care of this. I've got to do this. And next thing I know, it's almost lunchtime. And so that's not the most productive of my time because I found like my unique genius is being in strategizing, helping clients to identify what their problems are, create a vision, and then help them develop a strategy and then hand walk them through that. That's where my unique genius is. And then also in just relationship management, again, my unique genius. It's something that I do very well and I love doing. Okay. And then again, marketing, things like what I'm doing on the podcast here, speaking at shows, those type of things. So my goal is to get to the point where that's all I'm focusing on my business. So again, I was getting bogged down in these emails. So finally, it was interesting. I knew I needed to hire an executive assistant. I tried a lot of different things. I tried virtual ones. I know some people that works for. Didn't really work for me. Was playing around with saying, well, maybe I can get my back office staff to do some of this stuff. Really wasn't in their wheelhouse to do it. And it just happened that I actually had a client of mine who had been a legal secretary in my dad's office who she called about something one day and she told me she left her job and her mom was elderly and I said, well, I'm looking for somebody. So are you looking for some part-time work? And I said, I need somebody to kind of go through my emails, to manage my calendar, to do my travel arrangements, those type of things. And I brought her on. And I can't believe within the first week how much time it saved me. I wasn't getting bogged down in emails because I didn't have to go in. She was basically going into my email. She was going through every one of my emails. But the first week or so, we got together every morning, did them together, kind of tried to get her into my head on where things would go. She created folders for me. So if a client comes in and has an urgent request, I need to speak to Matt as soon as possible. She would either send an email to them and say, all right, here, let me get you on his calendar, or she'd stick it in the urgent folder. It was something I could address. Things I needed to review were there. Anybody I need to follow up with, separate folder for that. So all now I was doing was I'd get there in the morning, I'd go through my folders and say, okay, what do I need to take care of? Boom. And then I could start working on more of my high level activities. It was a game changer, absolute game changer. And I think that's something that even shop owners need to do this. I've got one of my guys, a young guy looking to grow his business. Eventually we want to look at, building his shop up to the point where then we can buy other shops and then just duplicate the process. And he's in the process of hiring an administrative assistant. He was amazed. He told me, he said, he goes, I put an ad in. He goes, I got over, what did he get? He got over 200 responses. All right. And he's narrowed it down to 8 right now. But he's really excited because it's really going to be an administrative assistant, somebody to handle just his affairs on there. So that frees him to do that. This is a little different than kind of your CSA position because your CSA is more kind of client facing. I think it's really important as a business owner that you have somebody that's dedicated specifically to you. Okay. That can, make those first contacts so that can say, hey, I'm Joe's personal assistant. I got this email before he did, and I know how much he values in quick contact. I want to let you know that I got your email and I'm moving it directly into his urgent folder. Okay. Uh, Me doing this with Tony, my assistant, doing this was amazing. And it's funny because I remember speaking to a client after that. He was like, "Oh, I get to go into the urgent folder." That was really, and it made him feel important. So, I mean, little things like that, but having, somebody who's dedicated to you to do that. I think another thing, and when we look at the who's not hows, is again kind of evaluating who we actually have in our shop and what tasks are they able to do. I have one of my shop owners. He actually turned me onto this book about the working geniuses that I talked about. He had all 26 people in his shop take this working genius assessment. And what he found out was he had a lot of guys in positions that did not fit their working geniuses. And so all of a sudden, what he did, he started doing a reorganization of just the people that were in his shop. And what was amazing, he did this in an 18-month period. He basically went from 4.5 million to 6 million in revenue just by getting the right butts in the right seats. I think is probably the best way to put this. That's, I think, a really, really important thing. And I think there's a lot of great tools that are out there. Like I said, I mentioned, the table groups, working genius assessments. A lot of times I actually, with new clients, I always have them do an assessment. So I understand their personality type. I understand their communication skills so that I'm communicating with them in the most effective way. And these are things that you can access to. I have access to all of these tools. If you were interested in any of them, feel free to reach out to us. You can go to highliftfinancial.com, click the Let's Talk button, get on my calendar. I'll be more than happy to share any of those tools with you, whether it's Trimetrics, whether it's Briggs Myers. There's a lot of great assessments out there. Even your vendors may have different assessments out there too, and that's another great resource to look at. So I think when again, to just kind of summarize what we talked about, we've got to stop thinking about how we're going to get things done, how are we going to grow our business, and more about the who's do we need to be able to do these things. And I think we need to look them on a personal level, who can handle the stuff that gets me bogged down, that frees me up then to do much higher level thinking. And then also look within our own team and say, okay, do we have the right people in the right seats? And do we need to maybe move some people? As an estimator, you may find out would be better as a tech. Okay. And just imagine the product. They'll be much happier. They'll be much more productive. And then we can fill in if we need to hire an estimator or find somebody who may within the shop that's much more inclined to do that. We can do that. So there's a lot of great ways to be able to accomplish this. I think, again, let's not get bogged down in our business. Let's think about the who's, not the hows. So, with that, again, anybody who wants to chat with me about any of these concepts, feel free to go to my website. Like I said, highliftfinancial.com, click the Let's Talk button below. And the one thing I always promise is, even if I can't help you, I will promise to get you pointed in the right direction. So that's kind of my goal with anybody that I work with, because we're really just about providing value to people and just trying to help people create the lives and lifestyles that they most desire, and creating the legacies for themselves and their families that they have. So with that, I want to thank you for listening to Your Business, Your Life. If you've not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. That way, when a new episode drops, you'll get it right onto your device. If you also like what you're hearing, please give us a 5-star review. That way we kind of move up the charts and we get to more and more people with the content we're trying to put out. And like I said, because our goal is really just to make everybody's lives much better and just to be helping to create generational legacies for many, many years. So with that, God bless. Take care, and everybody have a great day. Hey, I really want to thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. If you want to be notified when new episodes become available, click the subscribe button below.
All information is obtained from sources deemed reliable but not guaranteed. No tax or legal advice is given nor intended. Content provided herein or on our website should not be construed as an offer for investment advice or for securities, insurance, or other investment products. Investments involve the risk of loss and are not guaranteed. Consult a qualified legal, tax, accounting, or financial professional before implementing any investments or strategy discussed here. High Lift Financial is a DBA for DiFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC. Investment advisory services are provided through Cornerstone Planning Group, LLC, an independent advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.